our thinking can be most rapidly changed by changing the language that represents it.
Any successful relationship starts with finding your center, the truth at the core of who you are. Only then can you develop the ability to truly connect with someone else. Concentric is about aligning with people who share a common center. This show gives you the tools and the skills to do just that through practical training, real-life stories and examples, and in-depth interviews with people who have taken this journey and come out the other side better for it. Welcome to Concentric. We're glad you're here. Welcome to episode 19 of Concentric. Today we've got another quick win episode for you. Something that you can grab and use today and see some results, see a difference in your life right away. And that's around the idea of upgrading your language. You know, the language we use in our heads to ourselves, in our everyday interactions, a lot of times we don't think about it. It's just, how I speak or what I would normally say in this situation. Sometimes it's really important to analyze what we are saying to ourselves, to others on a regular basis, as both a reflection of what we think it may be a deeper level, the beliefs that we hold, but then also being purposeful with helping change and shape some new beliefs by upgrading our language and changing some words around, again, to ourselves and to other people, and especially the ones closest to us. All right, let's jump in. Welcome to Concentric. Gary, how are you, sir?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
Doing great. I'm having fun with these quick win episodes here. So I thought we'd do a couple more and do one today to give people some real just quick actions. They can take this insight, go use it today, tomorrow, and see some results. And I think that's really powerful in any learning environment when we can get something, a nugget that we can really grab onto, see the value in, and then go back for more. And today, I know something that you've brought up in the past is the power of language, right? Like the words we use to other people and to ourselves both. I mean, it's not only reflects what some of our beliefs are, and so like, oh, that's interesting, but also we can shift some of that if we use better language and kind of improve our lives. So how do you guide people with that to use language in a more powerful way?
Well, I'm gonna condense that into the context of relationships because there's two things. One is quite haunting, and one is the doorway to complete freedom and happiness. So the haunting one is when we drop into the drama triangle and we make someone our villain and we play the victim, and we generally search for some kind of hero to collaborate with us to go against the villain, whether that's, my good friend at the gym or Mary down the street that I need to talk to about how horrible my partner just was to me, whatever it is. And if we're in that drama triangle, we're using language like, you make me, and when you did this, you made me feel like this. And if you were this way, I could be this way. So we're doing all these type of language patterns that take the power away from us, or we misplace our power and we make someone else, if they change, I'll be good. But if they don't change, I won't be good. So therefore, it's their fault that I'm unhappy, which is the height of low emotional intelligence and the height of the inability to make the relationship actually work. Because what you do, you freeze it in time and you make your happiness based upon the hoops that you create that you want your partner to jump through, or else they're in the doghouse forever. What then happens is, I mentioned it before, when you have someone who is bending to your will so that you're not going off the rails at them, they build up low levels of resentment and anger, which generally displaces them from you because you create this negative association in the relationship to high levels of stress. So when someone comes into the house and you haven't seen them all day, but they have it anchored in their head, I'm going to get more demands from them. I'm going to be criticized. I'm not going to be loved unconditionally. I've got no safe haven and no sanctuary because of the endless critiquing and criticism and fault finding. They don't want to come home. And if they do come home, they're not going to want to spend intimate time with you because they've already have this negative association. It's like if I want to go and play with the dog, but the dog happens to be a rabid pit bull, I'm not going to go back into the yard because I was bit 3 or 4 times earlier last week. I'm not going to go back down there and see that dumb dog. I'm just not going to do it. So we have to start looking at these negative associations start to happen. We're speaking 70,000 words a day in our internal dialogue and external speech. Most of the time, it's about someone else or some victimized state that we feel. Now, all that literally lowers our ability to be happy completely and totally. The only place where we can create resolution is get into what they call the creator triangle, which we take responsibility for our own emotional states. We coach ourselves and we challenge ourselves. So one way to coach ourselves and challenge ourselves is to shift our language. If you shift your language, because ultimately at the end of the day, what happens for all of us, our thinking, which is accumulation of all our past events, creates a perspective that we look out of the lens of at our reality. Our thinking can be most rapidly changed by changing the language that represents it. So if we change our language, what happens is that we literally change our thinking. So if I go to what I created for myself is this, when you did this, I created this emotional state that just really got me upset. So I would love to get clarity on what was happening in you when you said or did what you did. Because I've made up something, may not be true, but I would love to have your perspective so that I can understand you better. That's number one, because we are making up the meaning and ascribing the meaning. It's not the event itself, it's the meaning that we ascribe to it that gives us all the agony. And we're the only ones in charge of that. We have to be able to take control of that. So by using language that demonstrates that, that begins to take us out of the drama triangle. When we use words like, what I created for myself is this. What I choose now is this. What I am going to do is this. What I made up about it is this. What I can do is this. So our upgraded language is like, I can, I am, I choose, I create, and I make up. When we just take those as substitutes to I can't, you make me, I don't know, I won't. When we eliminate those kind of negatives that keep us in the drama triangle and use language that puts us in the creator triangle, we actually start shifting the way we think. Our relationships can improve. And this happens every day out of everyone's mouths. And we have no idea how powerful our words are. Our words literally create our reality. So the word choices becomes this vital part of how we have mental and emotional management skills that keep us in a place where we have higher self-esteem, greater joy, and therefore greater success.
But yeah, it's so empowering, right? You take the power back,
Power back. Yeah.
In the short term, the short-sighted thinking is just like, oh, well, it's easier if I have someone to blame, right? If I have to actually take responsibility, oh, then it's my fault. But if you sit in that for a minute and you actually start experiencing and living that, it's actually empowering because, oh, I'm in control. Right now I got to take responsibility. Yikes. But that means I can move towards the positive. I can take control of how I feel about a situation even and how I move through a relationship.
Well, there's a really powerful little story, and I wish I could remember where I heard it or where I got this from, but I'm such an old dog in this kind of field that I don't even remember where I got it from. It was like something I heard 35 years ago. but it's such a good story for where we're at right now in our conversation, because the objective is that we're all creating our own reality. Every religion says we're made in the image and likeness of this thing that we call a creator. We don't know how to define it. You can go to multiple religions. They all have a different ritual to gain access to it in their own kind of set ways that they do it. But in my opinion, I know that I am creating my own happiness or my own misery, and I have a choice.
I hope you're enjoying this episode. If you want to take a deep dive into the concepts Gary is talking about here and so much more, I've got something for you. From time to time on this show, you may hear us talk about Gary's course, Creating Incredible Relationships. This course is the culmination of Gary's 35 years worth of seminars, one-on-one training, and transforming the lives of over 11,000 people on 4 different continents. To learn how to build alignment and heck, just get along with others sometimes, we all require skills that are not commonly known and are not out there in the relationship development space. We need help. That's why Gary put this course together. The content in it is powerful and comprehensive. But just like we've done with this show, it's put together in a way that's easily consumable and quickly implemented. To gain the ability to take every relationship you have or want to have to the next level, go to garyscourse.com and see how to get started. Now, back to the show.
So there was a conference. This is the story. There was a conference of the gods, and the gods came together because they were very concerned how they were going to hide themselves from humanity. So one god said, "I know. We'll put ourselves at the tallest mountain. They'll never look there." And all the other gods said, no. They're way too clever. They're going to figure that one out. And another god said, "I know. We'll put ourselves in the deepest part of the ocean. They can never go there." And all the gods thought, well, no, that's pretty good. But no, eventually they'll figure that out. Another god said, "I know. We'll put ourselves in the middle of the earth. They won't have access there." And all the gods were just about ready to vote unanimously for that. And then one god said, "No, in time, they'll figure that one out too." And then one little god stepped forward into the circle and said, "I know. We'll put ourselves in sight of them. They will never look there." So we have this creative force. And a huge aspect of that creative force is not only our thinking, but the language that represents it. Buddha did say from the Dhammapada, the thought manifests as the word manifests as the deed turns into habit, the habit hardens into character. So our language and our thinking are like this, paired together. We want to change our thinking. We need to change our language that represents it. You want to change the dynamics of your relationship? Stop making your partner the villain. Start taking responsibility for your own happiness. Tell the truth, be transparent. Use language that is first person accountable, moving towards the future, not masticating on things that happened in the past, because that past, the only thing true about it, it's no longer here. And so you can't resolve it. It's already gone down the river. But what you can do is not repeat the same patterns. So to stay solution focused and to take accountability and responsibility. And then you free yourself and your partner up to create solutions and learn from the mistakes that you've made and move forward aligned to your values. When you do that, you have a very good chance of creating a very long-lasting, lovely relationship. Most importantly, I think for me is I keep coming back to this one thought, that our relationships need to be sanctuaries, because it's very difficult to find any place in the world, especially today, where you can be unconditionally loved. Many of us in our childhoods can testify that, no, I did not feel unconditionally loved as a kid. I wasn't loved in my adult relationships unconditionally. So it's time. That's the thing that heals every crack and crevice in our hearts, is that we find a place where we can land, where we are unconditionally loved, we have psychological safety, and we don't have to walk into environments where we feel like we have to have armor to protect ourselves from the next verbal attack. So provide each other that, and it's a gift back to yourself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I encourage you all to kind of take that idea and just observe, the thoughts in your head over the next few days alone, and you'll find some of these words and phrases that Gary brought up today just popping in there. You may not even say them out loud, but you'll find them like, oh wow, I'm in that drama triangle kind of languaging right now. That's interesting. And that's really the first step, is just be that observer in your language, in your partner's language, and then find a way to slowly shift. You're like, oh, this is interesting. Let me go at this another way, because I was about to say, you make me feel, and then even this awareness can help you just stop that. And then over time too, you can start reframing some of your partner's language as they see a change in you as well.
Well, when you find yourself speaking dysfunctionally, all you need to do, because the subconscious mind takes your language literally and takes it personally. And every word we speak creates an emotional state. That emotional state creates neural pathways. The neural pathways, the denser they become, the harder the habit is to break. Our thoughts are electrical charges that will go down the path of the most conditioned neural pathways. So the way that we have constructed these sort of negative ways of being is exactly the way that we will construct a way that will free us by repetition, by our language, by a change in our thinking. We need to do it habitually. And when we do it habitually, we build a completely new set of neural pathways and starve off the old habits because we're not engaging in them. This is a biological thing that occurs for all of us. People say, well, I can't change, and I'll read this book and it'll go away. And it's like, no, it won't. You've hardwired yourself through your repetition. And the only way to begin to start shifting, creating real change that is effortless, is changing your brain through changing your language, which will change your thinking, therefore your emotional states, and form new pathways of neurology that is going to act as a superhighways for a new habit. And that new habit will harden to your character. And then you have a change that no one can take away from you. You evolve.
I love it. Gary, thank you so much.
You're so welcome, everybody to
go and use this. Likewise. All right. We'll see you all next time.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Concentric. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd certainly like a great review from you on your favorite podcasting platform. But more than that, what really makes a difference to a show like ours is a recommendation to someone who would love this show like you do. Word of mouth referrals to your network and your podcast devouring friends is incredibly helpful to the growth of this show. For episode links and info, go to concentricshow.com. Thank you so much, and remember to keep building alignment to build a better life.